Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to dive in.
Well, today we're looking at a Filipino film. It's called Hello, Love, Again.
Interesting title.
Yeah, and get this, the articles you sent, they say it's closing a film festival in Los Angeles, a big one.
Oh, wow. That's pretty impressive.
And it's a sequel, which is, I don't know about you, but sequels hitting it big internationally, that's not exactly common, is it?
You're right. Not so common. Sequels can be a gamble, trying to recapture the magic, high expectations, all of that.
Yeah. So our mission today, let's figure out why this Filipino film is making waves, why it's snagged this closing spot at a prestigious film festival, what makes it so special.
Definitely. Lots to unpack there.
Okay, so first things first, this sequel factor. You said sequels are a bit risky. Why is that? What makes them so tricky to pull off?
Well, just think about it. The original film, it's already out there. People loved it. They have this picture in their heads of what it is.
Right, expectations are high.
Exactly. So the sequel, it's got to live up to all that. Recapture the magic, but also do something new. It's a tough balance to strike.
Oh, for sure. And in this case, the first film, Hello, Love, Goodbye, that was a smash hit back in 2019. So the pressure is definitely on for this one. Hello, Love, again.
Absolutely. But there's a flip side too, that success, it means you've got a built-in audience, people who are already invested in these
Yeah,
characters.
that's true. They're eager to see what happens next.
Right. And speaking of characters, did you see who's playing them?
Oh, yeah. Alden Richards and Catherine Bernardo. They're back. The Kaftan duo, Filipino cinema's power couple.
Exactly. Their chemistry in the first film, it was a huge part of its appeal. Fans love seeing them together.
And when you're trying to reach an international audience, star power like that, it's got to help, right?
Huge help, especially for people who might not be familiar with Filipino films. Familiar faces make it more appealing, a way in.
Totally. Okay, so we've got sequels being tricky and we've got star power. Now let's talk about this film festival. Asian World Film Festival. It's in LA. What can you tell us about it?
So the AWFF, it's a pretty big deal. Happens every year in Los Angeles. 8 whole days of films from tons of Asian countries, almost 50. Their goal is to bridge the gap between Asian cinema and Hollywood, show off the best filmmaking from all over the continent.
Wow, that's a lot of films.
hmm
And being chosen to close this festival, it's not just about being in the lineup, right? It's like a statement. They're putting you in the spotlight.
Absolutely. For a film getting into a festival like this, it's a launch pad. You've got industry people there, distributors, critics, everyone's looking for the next big thing. If you do well, you could get distribution deals, you could be up for awards, maybe even Oscars down the line.
So this is huge, not just for Hello, Love,
Yeah.
again, but for Filipino cinema overall. It's putting them on the map.
Exactly. It's a chance to showcase Filipino talent on a global stage, and who knows, maybe it'll open doors for other filmmakers and actors.
I noticed something interesting in the articles, though. Hello, Love. Again, it's screening on November 13th. That's the very first day of the festival.
Oh, wow, you're right. It's like a premiere prime placement. And
Yeah.
get this, it also opens in the Philippines on the same day.
Wow, they're really going all out. Premiering internationally and opening its home market on the same day, that's going to create a ton of buzz. Okay, what about the plot? Do the articles tell us anything about what Hello, Love, again, is actually about?
They give us some juicy details. So remember, the first film ended with Joy leaving Hong Kong to follow her dreams in Canada.
Yeah, so they're on opposite sides of the world now. What happens? Do they stay apart?
While the articles say their paths cross again, they hint at maybe a long-distance relationship, rekindled feelings, and some tough choices ahead.
Ooh, sounds dramatic. I'm definitely getting more curious about this film. But before we get swept up in the romance, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about Hello, Love, Goodbye, the first film. It focused on overseas Filipino workers, right? OFWs. That's a pretty important part of the Filipino experience.
Hugely important. The first film, it really went deep into the lives of OFWs in Hong Kong, their struggles, their triumphs, the sacrifices they make.
It's something that a lot of people outside the Philippines might not know much about.
Right. And it's a big part of the Filipino story.
Do we know if that OFW experience is still a big part of the sequel?
That's a good question. The articles don't really say for sure. They mention Joy pursuing her dreams in Canada, but they don't say how much the film focuses on the whole OFW experience.
So we've got a bit of a mystery on our hands. Does the sequel dig deeper into that world, or is it more about Joy's personal journey?
We'll have to wait and see. It's interesting, though, how stories can evolve in sequels, how filmmakers balance different themes. Lots to think about.
We've got a lot to think about. Sequels, Star power, this film festival, the mystery of the OFW storyline, and we're just getting started.
Right. There's so much more to uncover. It's funny how certain things keep coming up even when we're looking at totally different stuff, like cultural exchange, globalization, how stories bring people together.
Yeah, I see it too. It's like a common thread through so much of what we talk about.
Exactly. And here we are, a Filipino film making its way to Hollywood. It's a perfect example of those themes, right?
Totally. And what I find interesting is, hello, love. Again, it feels universal, but also distinctly Filipino at the same time.
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, at its core, it's a love story, right? And love, it's a language everyone understands no matter where you're from.
True. Everyone's felt those joys and heartbreaks, the excitement of chasing dreams, that bittersweet longing.
Exactly. Those are emotions that go beyond borders, beyond cultures.
Right.
And then you add in ambition, cultural identity, the sacrifices people make for love, for a better future. All these things are woven into the story, especially through the lens of the OFW experience.
And that was such a powerful part of Hello, Love, Goodbye. It really showed the lives of OFWs in Hong Kong, their struggles, their resilience, their triumphs.
It was so authentic. It really
And
resonated.
not just with Filipinos, right? I mean, anyone who's ever felt that pull of home or that responsibility to family or the challenges of being in a new culture, they can connect with that.
You're right. It's something so many people can relate to. And it makes me think about all those news stories we see about the Filipino diaspora, the sacrifices OFWs make, how their remittances help the Philippine economy.
Yeah, it's such a big part of the Filipino story, and I feel like it doesn't get enough attention in the mainstream media.
You're so right. And that's what makes Hello Love, again, so important. It has the potential to shine a light on these stories, these experiences for a global audience.
Right. It could create empathy, understanding, help people see the world from a different perspective.
Exactly. And it's not just about sharing Filipino stories, it's about how this film fits into the bigger picture of Hollywood itself.
That's interesting. When we say Hollywood, we often think of it as this one big thing, but the Asian World Film Festival, it's happening in Hollywood.
That's a really key point. This isn't just a Filipino film trying to break into Hollywood. It's a film festival actively choosing to showcase Asian cinema right in the heart of the industry.
Wow, that's true. It's like a shift, a willingness to embrace different voices, different perspectives. It's pretty exciting.
It is. And if Hello Love, again, does well at AWFF, who knows what kind of impact it could have?
It's like you said before, a launch pad. What if this leads to more distribution deals for Filipino movies, or sparks interest in Filipino actors and filmmakers within Hollywood?
Imagine that. A whole new wave of Filipino talent breaking through internationally. It's like what happened with Bong Joon-ho's Parasite.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. Parasite totally changed the game. Won Best Picture at the Oscars, showed everyone that international films, especially Asian films, can captivate the world.
Exactly. And maybe Hello Love, again, could be part of a similar movement, opening doors for Filipino cinema. But let's step back for a second. Why should our listener care about all of this?
Yeah, good point. Why should they care?
Well, first off, it's a story about human connection, ambition, following your dreams. Those are things everyone can relate to no matter where they're from.
Right, it's not just a Filipino story, it's a human story.
Exactly. And second, it gives you a glimpse into a culture, a way of life that might be new to you. It's a chance to learn, to broaden your horizons.
So it's both relatable and eye-opening. That's cool.
And, supporting diverse storytelling, it's so important for a healthy culture. By seeking out films like this, you're helping create a more inclusive world of cinema.
You make a really good point.
And lastly, let's be honest, this film sounds super entertaining. Romance, drama, cultural exploration, a beloved duo, what's not to love?
I'm with you on that. But there is one thing that keeps coming back to me. We've talked about how the first film, Hello, Love, Goodbye, focused on the lives of OFWs and how powerful that was.
Yes, and how it really resonated with audiences.
But the sequel, Hello, Love, again, seems to be more about Joy pursuing her dreams in Canada. Do we know for sure if the OFW experience is still a major part of the story?
That's the big question, isn't it? And honestly, the articles don't give us a clear answer. They focus on Joy's journey but don't say much about the OFW aspect.
So it's a bit of a mystery. Will they explore the challenges faced by OFWs even more deeply, or is the focus shifting to Joy's individual story?
It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. But, it makes me think about sequels in general. Sometimes they focus on different aspects of a story, explore new themes, while still holding on to the essence of the original.
That makes sense. It doesn't always have to be a direct continuation or just rehashing the same themes.
Right. There are different approaches, and I'm curious to see what they do with Hello, Love. Again.
Me too. Okay, deep divers, we've covered a lot in this part. We've talked about the universal themes in Hello, Love. Again, its potential impact on Filipino cinema and global audiences, and that lingering question about the OFW storyline.
We even touched on sequels in general,
Yeah.
and the challenge of living up to a successful first film.
Right. And I think that leads perfectly into the last piece of the puzzle, something we haven't really talked about yet. Expectations.
Ah, yes, expectations. Big ones, especially with a sequel to such a beloved film.
Exactly. And that's where we'll pick up in the final part of our deep dive. Okay, deep divers, so we're back and ready to wrap things up with Hello, Love again.
Before the break, we were talking about expectations, right? How that weight of expectation can really impact a film, especially a sequel.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, the first Hello, Love, Goodbye, that movie really hit home for a lot of people.
It did, it really did. So now everyone's kind of waiting to see if this new one can recapture that magic. Exactly. And that puts a lot of pressure on the filmmakers. They've got this chance to revisit these characters, the world, but they're also carrying all those hopes, those memories people have.
They're like, hey, make a great sequel. No pressure.
Right. But really, it's a tricky thing to navigate. Think about it. You're the director, stepping into this world that people already love. You can't just repeat the same story, but you also don't want to stray too far from what made it special in the first place.
It's like walking a tightrope.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Finding that perfect balance, honoring the original, but also doing something new. And that's what makes this sequel so interesting to me. It's like a high-stakes game, and we're watching it play out. Not only are we curious about what's going to happen in the story, but we're also thinking, can it live up to the first one?
Right. It's like this added layer of, I don't know, suspense almost.
Yeah.
So how do you even tackle that as a filmmaker? How do you create a sequel that meets those expectations but doesn't feel like a cheap copy?
That's the million-dollar question for any sequel, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it starts with understanding why the first film worked so well. What made Hello, Love, Goodbye resonate with people?
I think for me, a big part of it was Alden and Catherine, their chemistry. They just had this spark on screen. You couldn't deny it.
Oh, yeah, totally. That chemistry was electric. It made their love story feel real relatable. You were rooting for them the whole time.
It wasn't just a fluffy love story either. The film touched on some deeper themes, the OFW experience, cultural differences, chasing your dreams, all of that.
Exactly. It had layers. It was heartfelt, and it gave us a window into a world that a lot of people hadn't seen before.
Yeah, it made you think. So for Hello, Love, again, to really hit the mark, it needs some of those same elements, right? That spark between the leads, that willingness to explore complex issues, that feeling of being transported to another place.
Absolutely. It needs to have the spirit of the original, but find its own voice, and that's the tough part.
It's like it's carrying the torch, but it also needs to light its own fire.
Love that analogy. Building on what's there, but bringing something fresh, something new.
Okay, so we've talked about the pressure, the expectations, the challenges of making a sequel that lives up to the hype. But what about the critics? How do you think they're going to react to this film?
Oh, that's a big piece of the puzzle. Critics, especially on the international scene, they can make or break a movie.
Remember we were talking about Parasite earlier? That film was a hit with critics right out of the gate. It won awards left and right, even before the Oscars.
Totally. It had so much momentum going into award season, and that definitely played a role in its success.
So do you think Hello, Love, again, can generate that kind of buzz? Will it resonate with critics the same way it does with audiences?
It's hard to say until we see it. The reviews will start coming out after the premiere at AWFF, and those early reactions will be telling. That's something to watch, for sure.
So we've got the critics, we've got the OFW storyline, and then there's that question of whether it captures that same magic as the original.
Oh, and don't forget about distribution. If they can land some good deals, that'll determine how widely the film is seen, whether it reaches a global audience.
Right. That's crucial. There's so much riding on this film. It's kind of exciting to see how it all plays out.
It really is. But, beyond all the hype, the awards, the box office numbers, I think there's something bigger at play here.
Oh, what do you mean?
I'm talking about what this film represents. It shows that Filipino storytelling can reach a global audience. It's a testament to the talent, the creativity, the passion of Filipino filmmakers and actors.
You're right. It's a moment to celebrate Filipino artistry and how it's gaining recognition worldwide.
Exactly. And whether Hello Love again becomes this huge blockbuster or a beloved classic in the Philippines, its journey reminds us that stories have power.
Yeah.
They connect us, they challenge us, they open our eyes to new perspectives.
That's a great way to put it. So, deep divers, as you explore the world of Hello Love, again, remember to appreciate the artistry, the heart, the cultural significance behind it. It's more than just a movie.
Keep your minds curious and your hearts open to the power of storytelling.
And that wraps up our deep dive into Hello Love. Again, until next time, stay curious.